Well, howdy all. This is Jason from Southern Bush Motorsports, here to give you another Tales from the Bush. You might have remembered a tale from the bush that I did about a cow barn full of cars and MOPARS and parts and stuff like that. Just hundreds of cars in an old cow barn, and you can see them row by row in there. Just parts like you wouldn't believe parts, and big pastures full of cars. Well, the reason I did this second part was to give you an opportunity to see what it looked like to see the cars like this in the building, but then a couple of the cars that I bought, extracted, and brought them back to my area. That's one of them right there. That was a 68 Charger. Just a 318 car. There was nothing fancy about it, but what I really loved about that car was it really didn't have much done to it. It was pretty stock, pretty good shape. But, you know, the lighting in there was okay, but it was yellow lighting. It was kind of horrible, actually. And I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to see what this car looked like out of that actual barn, because there's a big difference when it's not in there. It's tough to see them, but this is what the thing looked like out in the daylight. You know, banged up, bruised up, but pretty stock. You know, had bird poo all over it, which is expected. Pigeons get in there, but you know, missing a few parts here and there, but the car is pretty good. Definitely needed quarters, rear valance. Tail panel was pretty solid on it. Quarter wasn't too bad on that side. The fender was dented, and, you know, just this is a good example of don't overpay for an original car if that car's got to come apart anyways to make it look right. And this is why I didn't do that. I bought this car for pretty cheap, knowing that the car needs to come apart. It's nice when you can find an untouched car, but just that's what I'm saying. Don't overpay for untouched cars when, in the end, you can't drive this car. This car needs to come apart. It's worth restoring. So what? It's a 318 car. Put whatever motor you want in it. It's not an RT, you know, do whatever you want with it. But the car needed to come apart, and that was just the end of the deal. So I'm not going to overpay for an original untouched car. I'll pay a little bit extra because it's an untouched car. But, you know, look at those sail panels. That's one of the big things that costs a lot of money because they get so rotted out. But, you know, tail panel is decent. A little bit of repair needed. Whole car overall was pretty straight. And it was a fairly complete car. If I remember right, I can't remember. I don't know if this had the motor in it or not. This is going to go into another part. I also pulled a GTX out of there, but we'll just stick to this Charger for right now. But I always loved the 68 Charger. When I was 16 years old, I was waiting for my dad at a business meeting, and this dealership had a 68 Charger RT, black with dog dish hubcaps, white bumblebee stripe, and I fell in love with the car. Oh, no, there you go. It's got a fender tag, and that looks like a 318 right there. But I fell in love with that 68 Charger, and I just wanted it. That's the wrong picture. That's for the GTX. But I absolutely fell in love with that black 68 Charger RT, and I did everything with my dad. I negotiated, and I tried everything, but he just wouldn't shill up the $7,000 that they wanted for this car, and this car was restored. I think would have been back in like 89, 1990. But you know what? It is what it is, but I never forgot that car. You know, I know you guys might have some stories of some cars that you saw that you wish you would have got, but that was my story. I like this 68 because it was pretty solid. You see those frame rails are, you know, a little crusty at the end there, but that's fixable. Pretty solid. It was an undercoated car. You can see that quarter is not even too bad. Definitely a great place to get started if you were looking to buy a 68. Now, just to get this car to this point and get it out of that cow barn, that was a lot of work. There's no question that was a lot of work. It needed to be tires aired up, wheels unlocked, all the brakes were locked up on it. Good solid underneath that car there, right there. Trunk wasn't even too bad. A little crusty in the center, but, you know, the inner quarters right there, perfect. Wouldn't need to have anything done to them there, but it was just a lot of work to get this thing out, because I pretty much, the easiest way was to just take the panel off the wall and pull the car out that way, and that's what I did, and I just replaced the panel for him. But, you know, that was the interior of it, kind of homemade bucket seats. But it was what it was. It is what it is. Didn't have RPM gauge. It had 150 mile an hour gauge on it, but that's the trunk lid. Obviously, you can see the tire changing diagram been painted over, but you know, it was a bucket seat console car. Oh yeah, no, that was an RPM gauge there. It's kind of weird for a 318 car. Maybe it was a 383 car. Gosh, I don't remember. Look at that trunk pen. It almost looked like it had been filled in with tar or something like that. Way too smooth. Some sort of filler. But, you know, there's the 70 440 GTX air grabber gunmetal gray. Now, if there's a car that I kicked myself in the butt for selling, it was this car. I should never have sold this car. I kept it in a little storage unit for a few months and then decided, you know, I just can't keep all of them. But if there's a car that I do kick myself in the butt for selling, it was this car, because gunmetal gray is one of my favorite colors. This was a real numbers matching 440 GTX air grabber car, and it was solid, and it was complete, and it was completely untouched. Originally, I think there was a yellow hood on this thing when I found it, but then I found the original hood sitting on the ground. I'm like, yeah, well, I want that. Look at that. Look at that interior. Complete. You haven't seen these pictures in years, man. And you know what the craziest thing about this car is? Car had been sitting for 10 plus years in that barn. I don't see things that way. I see things as the car's complete, engine's complete. I put some gas in the carburetor, put a new battery in it, and I kid you not, this car fired right up. I drove this car off the trailer. One of the tires was sticking, so I took it off and banged the drum out. I drove this car off that trailer. Look at that. Somebody tried to fix that quarter on the driver's side there. It definitely needed in and outer quarters on the driver's side, but if I remember right, the passenger side was all right. Trunk was pretty crusty, but kind of savable if you really wanted to. But I actually drove this car off the trailer, drove it into the storage unit. This car actually ran and drove. You can see a little rough underneath there, but you know, not rotted out. That's a good frame rail shot right there. It's a pretty solid frame rail. Well, there's the air grabber hood that I found lying on the ground, the one for the car. Thank goodness I was walking around and I saw that. You know, look at that front end, just nice and smooth. Bumper needs to be replaced. And of course, we all drilled holes in the back of the seat and put a speaker in it, so there goes that cover. But I found a build sheet in this car and everything. Had a fender tag on it, had a build sheet. The air grabber stuff was all gone from it, which that's kind of expected when they sit around that long. But yeah, that was definitely a cool find. Look at that underneath there. Those little bends on the line there, that's just from jacking these cars up and stuff. You really haven't experienced much in your life until you got a big old car like this on the side of the road and you try to change a tire with a bumper jack. Oh, I remember that. Every time a car drove by, that bumper jack would creak. Look at that beautiful car. 70 440 air grabber GTX. Gunmetal gray. What a beaut. And even though this car had been sitting for a long time, like I've said before, a lot of people don't realize that the reason these cars ended up getting just put away was because when they switched over from regular gasoline to all you could get was unleaded gasoline, these cars ran like crap. When you ran that unleaded gasoline in one of these old cars, when you lay into it, it just sounds like a diesel truck. No power. You know, there's a gauge right there. It's actually a pretty decently low mileage car. I think it was under 70,000 miles. But they ran like crap, and people just couldn't drive them anymore. That was as simple as that. You know, yeah, no, that driver's quarter or passenger's quarter needed to be done, lower quarter. But you know, I did this Tales from the Bush because I wanted people to see what it was like to go from seeing a car where I found it inside of that COWBARN to I forgot I had actually bought these two cars. Look at that. Oh, what a beautiful car. God, I'm so stupid for selling that car. Look at that original paint. That's shiny gunmetal gray paint. You know, you always kick yourself for a car you let go of, and there's a bunch of them. Trust me, me being in this business as hardcore as I was in it, there's some cars. I'm gonna try to find the pictures if I can. 70 Hemi Cuda convertible, numbers matching motor. I finally located it. Car was rough. It was raced. It had been rolled over. caught on fire, but everything, the frames, the numbers, and all that were there, and I let that car go. I'm gonna have to find that one. Look at that door right there. Beautiful, all the numbers there. Well, I appreciate everybody coming by and checking out another Tales from the Bush. And I hope you like and subscribe. And we just got the approval to go ahead with the podcast and stuff like that, so maybe we'll try to do that. Thanks for coming by, checking out Southern Bush Motorsports.